Okay. Welcome to Winning on Wednesday. My name is Juan Vides, and the purpose we're here is to simply get to know each other. I always say people do business who they know, like, and trust. Knowing, liking, and trusting, I'd like to introduce my friend Jan Guarino. Hey, Jan, how are you?
Good one. How you doing? Good to see you.
I know it's been a while,
It
right?
has been a while.
So
Yes.
it's good to see you as well. So tell us the elevator pitch. You give us a quick intro.
Started in graphic design, retired just before the pandemic hit, but I've been teaching watercolors, something I never thought I'd be doing, and I love it. I call it fearless watercolors, and I take students who never painted in watercolor, were afraid of watercolor, and I've become an instructor, a painter, an artist, and now an author. Things I never saw coming.
Great. I can't wait to go into it. We're going to talk a little bit more about it. But first, let's talk about you. Where did it all begin? Where were you born?
I'm born in Jersey. I'm a Jersey girl.
You're Jersey girl. Oh,
I
Joyzy,
went
as I say. Joyzy, Joyzy.
But nobody in Jersey says Jersey. Only New Yorkers say that. I never knew where that came from. When I went to school at FIT, everybody say, "Oh, you're from Jersey," and I'm like,
Joyzy.
I don't know. I don't know where that came from, but it's a thing, and I never met anybody in Jersey who actually says that. So
Okay.
let's shoot that one down right now.
No
But
problem.
yeah, I'm a Jersey girl. Grew up down the Jersey Shore every summer, but I found that I needed to branch out from that. And I went to school at FIT in the city. And that
Mm.
really
Did,
was a very good transition for me to
did,
leave, the suburbs and head into the city,
did you always have that inspiration as a kid to do art? I mean, like when you were like young
always,
or 8 years old?
always,
Yeah.
always. It's
Yeah.
always there. The difference is that so many people start out with that ability because we're kids and we're free and we draw and we do all these things. It's not easy to transcend that into a business or a job. That's the tricky part. And I learned early on that it wasn't enough to be a good artist. You had to understand business. And I learned that really early on. And while, people love to paint or draw or whatever, that really wasn't a profession. So going to FIT gave me a real good, solid background of what the industry was like and what that could offer you. And fortunately, I was equally good in graphic design as I was in drawing. And it led me to becoming, a graphic artist.
Did did you have any role models or anybody that inspired you or during that time?
I think that really, when you're a visual person, you are inspired by everything you see. And we were trained that way early on to work from a model, a life model, see beyond what's there and go into it in a deeper depth. Um, there were classes that we had where we would look for patterns and whatnot in simple signage. So the world around us really gives us an opportunity to be high visual if we tune into it. So, specifically a role model at that time, I'd say no. However, certainly it grows over time when you start seeing what other people are doing. At FIT, like there were fabulous artists like Steven Stickelman and Antonio, and there were wonderful, wonderful illustrators. And we aspired towards them. They were just, they're not names that are common, but really, when you're an artist, you attune to your world. You attune to your colors around you, your surroundings, how the light hits an object, it casts a shadow. Being an artist, no matter what kind of artist you are, you become hypersensitive and acutely aware of everything around you.
Wow, so that's amazing. And you went to school. You're saying you went to school to
I went to FIT, Fashion
yeah.
Institute, not to be a designer, went to for illustration and advertising. And I very, very shortly saw that illustration really was shifting from illustrators to photographers. So I was able to pivot very easily into being a commercial artist, into graphic design, into logos and brochures and
It's a,
and
the
right
logo's right in
there.
there. Exactly.
My yeah,
You
yep.
were
I was able to pivot into that world very seamlessly, very seamlessly. Yeah. So
I just out of curiosity, I mean, yeah, yeah, to see your work, how does that, you must be inspired by that too as well. Like, I mean, you think about it to see, you're driving the road and you see a sign and you're like, oh, I did that. I did that. I did that.
I see it on trucks. I see it on packaging. Yeah,
To this day,
it's
to this day, right? Till
oh
this
yeah,
day, you still see
yeah.
your work.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely. And I found that I could get the personality of a company and figure out a good way in terms of interpreting that graphically. And of course, that requires all the skill set that I use as an artist these days. It's an artistry, it's composition, it's typography, it's the right use of colors, it's texture, it's all the elements of art is in a brochure, an ad, a logo. It's just different ways that you approach it, but it's all there.
And then take add the marketing equation to it, and then you have to have the
Yeah.
consistency with that, with the branding, with the colors, the hexadecimal, and then all that, the same consistency with the,
Yeah.
like you just said, with all those variables.
Yes, absolutely. Taking, let's say your square logo and how do you apply that to a pen or something? It's all in the artistry. It's all in the what it's going to be used on. So important.
The
It's
interpretation, right? And
absolutely the
right.
application of it. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of things that go into it. And that's an interesting part because we see these logos all around us and we don't think of what went into it. It just is there and we accept it. It's so interesting. It's like it appears, it feels right. Why does it feel right? Well, there was a connection between the designer and the head of the company that hired you. And I loved that interaction. I did. I loved
take
that, making that happen for companies.
take us back when your first job right out of college, right? You
Ah,
know, tell us about that experience, and I
holy
mean.
cannoli. This is this is crazy. So my first job was working at a printing company that took products, went from photography to artwork to color separations to press to delivery. And that's where I got my basic training of understanding exactly how taking all that stuff I learned in school and saying, here's a concrete application. So I got very good at going in and helping the photographer set it up and stage it and look for like just the right look, the right lighting. I'd select the right exposure because at that time we had 4x5 transparencies. Took the artwork into the art department and made sure that it appeared well, to couple color separations, to printing, to delivery. It was like the whole thing was delivered. And it gave me such a broad scope. And I also learned sales. So I worked alongside one of the presidents. He was in the marketing division. And I learned how to make cold calls and how to market the company. And I don't know where how this happened, but in my early 20s, I was teaching salespeople how to make cold calls. There was just, even then, Juan, I had like no
The teacher.
fear. I
Wow.
had no fear. I just had an ability, and that um, balance of artistry and marketing was very early on. It was very evident early on in my career that I had a business sense and I had an artistic sense. And usually it takes two partners to be able to
Two
work
minds.
that.
Yes.
I had both sides. I don't know. I don't know how every stage of my career and life has led me to something that worked well in the advancement of my career.
Well, I think you learned, right? You learned from your first job. You learned from being all the process, and then
Yes,
you took what you learned. And not a lot of people do that, and you apply it to yourself, and you move on.
absolutely. Yeah, it's
Wow.
absolutely true. Yeah, it was a real specific pivoting and direction that led me. It's an amazing a tapestry to look at how I wove it together.
Right.
It's
And that
it,
just, it's all coming back in a full circle.
it never it's just yeah, it's
And
completely that.
but now it's nice because what you learned, basically you apply it to yourself, like you just said.
You know, Juan, I have to tell you that even when I'm teaching a class in watercolors, I go back to lessons that I learned at FIT, and that was a lot of years ago. That was the early 70s. It was a long time ago. And I still access those very distinct lessons that
Wow.
taught to me. Never forgot them. Very, very
But
prevalent in my approach.
it was a discipline too, right? I mean, that you've, in a sense,
It
like
was a
it
joy.
too.
It
But you
was,
enjoyed it. Yeah, you enjoyed it. But for some people, yeah.
I was artist of the year in my high school,
Oh,
went to
wow.
FIT, I graduated with high honors. It was just like, I just fell into it. And it, it, when you fall into what you're meant to do and be, it's kind of like effortless. I'm
Yeah.
not saying the whole thing was effortless, but there was always challenges along the way and so many things that you have to, handle. I remember hearing a long time ago, and I never forgot this, that being in business was like sort of like surfing. You have to feel, and I never surfed, but the idea is that feeling the currents and the shifts and the waves underneath your feet and being able to adjust your balance so that and listen, if you fall over, you get back on and you do it again. That's just what it is. But that whole idea of feeling what's happening and being able to do something about it. And that's one of the great things about being in your own business is that you can pivot. You don't need approvals. You don't need a board decision. You don't need any of that. You simply feel the direction that you want to go into and approach it and just go for it.
And I think this would be a great time, a great moment. Thank you for this, for the advice. For more advice would be for the golden nugget moment. And the golden nugget moment is basically when you want to leave something behind, a piece of information, somebody to better their career or better them, or in general, that you've learned. So something that you learned from your journey
Yeah.
to, what can you share with us?
Yeah. I think we've touched a lot upon it, of the things that do help you to shift and change. It is absorbing what's around you, seeing what's working. And I'll give you a very specific example. To this day, even though I'm pretty accomplished painter and artist and teacher,
And
I
author,
still
and author.
an author now. Yes, thank you for that plug. Um, I still love to take classes with masters, okay,
Mm.
other watercolor artists. And the reason being is because I learned threefold. I learned for me how to be a better artist, pick up ideas that I hadn't thought about. That's big. But beyond that, I see how the students in the rest of the class are learning. Are they grasping it? Where are they engaged? So that's an important part. The third thing is that I learned to be a better teacher. So my nugget is really keep growing. Don't think you've arrived. I never want to arrive. I want to be on a path that takes me into constantly learning and growing and being better, because then that makes me that much better of a teacher. And I could give that much back to my students. So whether you teacher, entrepreneur, business person, it doesn't matter. It's a service that you're providing. And the better you could provide that service, no matter how you gain information to give it back, it's a lifelong process. You're never done.
And you know what? It's interesting you say that because you always never forget you're the good teachers. You always remember the good teachers.
You do. You're right about that. You could go back to like
High
forever
school, middle
ago.
school, and you could always remember the good teachers.
Yes, you can. They touched something. And I
Correct.
never want to be feeling I'm so accomplished that I can't learn, grow, develop, shift, change, and advance and share. The
Right.
sharing part is a big part of what I do. a big part of what I do, that ability to give back that way.
Now, thinking of sharing, do you belong to any communities or organizations that you belong to now?
Yeah, so this is really a shift for me because I used to be very involved in business networking.
Networking, yes.
That was huge. I mean, the things that you learn there with your colleagues, it's just invaluable. But I don't really do that anymore. I don't find that that's a fit that it works for me anymore. So I'm much more involved in the art world now, at
Hmm.
different art associations, and of course my beautiful community in Northport and in Huntington. You know, it's a I'm part of a gallery in
Mm.
Northport that I am a member of, and I love that, having that kind of community with like 50 other artists that we all share and give to each other. So it's really shifted from, these B2B networking groups to more artsy, a lot more
Well,
arts.
you enjoy it, your peers, right? It's your
Uh,
people. So you enjoy, it's like you're talking the same language, so to speak.
yeah, and you know what happens, Juan, is when I take a workshop somewhere, and it's happened multiple times, I'll take a workshop, let's say at this beautiful spot in Land Grove, Vermont. It's the Land Grove Inn. And I took a workshop there and I got speaking to the owner. And he was like, Jan, I follow you on Facebook. I'm like, thinking you do. I'm like, he's got like the greatest artists coming to through his establishment. And he said, no, no, no. He said, I think you should teach a class here. I'm like, I said, Tom, I'm not known like your other artists. These are masters. And he's like, nope, I think you would do really well. And you know what? That was like 7 years ago. And my classes, thank amazingly, thank you, Tom, for giving me the opportunity, has filled up every time.
Wow.
Yeah. Sometimes it's just to the extent I do two a year. So um, by growing, it feeds me and it gives it back to me, these opportunities. So your associations are very unusual places that you wouldn't necessarily think that an inn in the middle of Vermont, you know, would be a place of community, and yet it is.
Hmm.
Another group is a group that takes artists to Italy every year. And when I do those workshops, and I just did one to Lake Garda, we had 20 something people, 10 of them were students, and they came from Long Island, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, DC, Florida, Seattle, San Diego, and Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
So
Do you keep in touch still?
I do. Well, I have a newsletter and I stay in touch with everybody through my
Excellent.
newsletter, Marketing 101. Keep your email list accurate and growing and engaging.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. And so tell us about you have something new, your book, right?
I'm an author.
You're an author
So
now. We talk about your book.
thank you for that one. Um, so this is it. It's called Thinking Your Way Through Watercolors. And most every book on painting or art that I've ever read is how to and step, 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 step. And it's really boring. I'll just show you a
Yeah.
spread here.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
this is
Beautiful.
examples with one thought over here, just one thought. And
Okay.
he was talking about the unique properties of watercolors and
Beautiful.
why I love watercolors so much. And every page has got a different thought to think that
Oh,
you might not
wow.
have thought about when you're painting. So it's kind of like a coffee table book because you could literally say, I'm going to sit and paint. What would Jan think? Oh, let's go to, I don't know, let me just like a little Bible. Let's open to the value of values. What is that?
Okay.
What does she mean by that? And integrate that one thought into your painting. So it's not like a front to back kind of book. It's a open it up. And here's the hardcover. This is my author's copy that came through with the little,
Oh, wow.
resale, but now it's hardcover also. So So
That's amazing.
interesting. It just went live on Friday.
Okay.
Friday, I heard, was National Authors Day,
Oh,
November 1st. And I'm like, I will never forget that that's when my book went live. It's like,
that's amazing. It was meant to be. It's the universe,
I
right?
know.
Universe
I
sank.
chose that date arbitrarily, thinking I'd have enough time to make sure everything was correct and it looked good. And it was just the way I wanted it to be. And of course, being a graphic artist, I couldn't wait to design it.
That's
That was
awesome.
what was um, so much fun was, and then putting all these thoughts down that I say in my classes. And what does it mean? And here's an example of what it means. So yeah, it's very, again, these are things I never thought I'd ever be doing. This is, they say follow your passion. Honestly, I have a page in the book that says, and this is so true for me. It says, this book is a dream come true, but it's also a dream I never knew I had. And that is the truth. I never, ever, ever thought I'd be doing what I'm doing. And it's just those people like the Landgrove Inn and the Art League of Long Island giving me an opportunity to do what they saw in me. They saw something in me. I didn't see it in me. I didn't think of it as anything. I never thought it would be happening. And that's, another kind of nugget is to um, say yes. When you're offered an idea of something you never really considered, be like, I'll try teaching. I never went to school. And they're like, sometimes those are the best teachers, the ones that didn't go to school or whatever. Listen to what's going on around you because other people that you know and trust may see something in you that you didn't see in yourself or you didn't have the confidence to do or whatever that is. It's a dream I never knew I had.
Wow. Fearless. Be fearless.
Yeah.
As you just
I
said, be
am
fearless.
fearless. I
Be
have to
fearless.
say, I am fearless.
I love it. Love it.
I
Love it.
dive in at the deep end, Wand.
Thank you.
I too, and I'm like, sink or swim, go in the deep end. Don't
Um,
wade in slowly.
and Jan, thank you so much for sharing your story. And if people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way to contact with you?
Well, my website, certainly. Which is Jan Guarino Fine Art. Jan Guarino Fine Art, because there's another Jan Guarino who's a voiceover, and I couldn't get the janguarino.com. So I had to add fine art to it. So remember that. Um, and my book is available on Amazon. Again, if you just type in Jan Guarino book, it comes up.
And
And my email is simple Jan at Jan Guarino Jan Guarino Fine Art. I think Fearless Watercolors also goes to .com. I got
excellent.
that .com one. It's so interesting. I'm like, everybody's so afraid of watercolors. So, I went on to, I don't know, whatever the uh, uh, where you look to see like if a .com is available. And I just happened thinking there's no way it would be available. Fearless Watercolors. Nobody took it. I was like,
Wow.
you
Yeah.
got to be kidding me. I'm
Yeah.
like, grab it, baby.
And it's easy to remember too. So it's easy
So
to
you could go to
remember.
fearlesswatercolors.com
Watercolor.com.
also.
Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And
That's
I do
great.
have an exhibition going on at my gallery in Northport at the Firefly Artists right on Main Street. It's a 2-week exhibition only until the middle of November. And I have about 100 pieces of artwork there for
Oh,
sale,
wow.
all originals. And do I have time to tell a quick story?
Sure, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So part of being a part of this gallery is we gallery sit, and it sounds like, oh my God, 2.5 hours sitting there, or 3.5, whatever it is. But you meet the most wonderful people that come in. And one day this older gentleman comes in and we just start chatting. He pointed behind my head, which had, I'll hold it up to the camera. I
Yeah.
don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
It's a
Like a
four-leaf clover.
four-leaf clover. Yeah.
He finds 4-leaf clovers, laminates them, and gives them to people. He's a leprechaun. He's a leprechaun. Okay. That's all I got to say. And we got talking about it just led from one thing to the next to the next. And he talked about his daughter who is fighting for her life.
Oh,
And he showed me this cancer, and he showed me this flyer with her information on it. And I was touched. You hear about these stories and the GoFundMe
yeah.
and all these struggles. For whatever reason, I like she had really liked to do something. And he I go to get my hair done that afternoon, and in her cubicle was the same flyer. And I'm like, what?
Mm-hmm.
So when I got putting this 2 week reception artwork together, I'm only there for I'm there all the time, but this bigger exhibition is in the center of the gallery. I said, once my expenses are covered, I want to find a way to give her a portion of the proceeds.
Oh,
So
wow.
while the closing reception is actually in November 14th, I'll be closing and I'll have a book signing. And I asked him if he would be able to supply 4-leaf clovers for everybody who made it because everything that gets sold will help his daughter. And I just got the email that he agreed to
Oh,
have
okay.
4-leaf clovers
That's great.
laminated on hand to
Oh,
hand out. I know it's,
wait.
you
Well,
know,
it's a great marketing tool, by the way. The four-leaf clover. It's a great and
you
from
know, yeah.
never would have thought I never would have thought that.
Who would have thought this leprechaun walks in with and knows where to find clusters of 4-leaf clovers? He said he's given out no less than 6,000 4-leaf clovers to people.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, he's very. It just again like just one of those things, just
But
meant to
but
be.
but you know what? I'm just taking it from my marketing thing. That's because it's memorable. It's memorable, and wow,
Yes,
wow,
yes,
and it's a
yes. I
good way to
know.
connect. Imagine all those 6,000 people's connected. That would be cool. You never know.
It, it'll be what it'll be,
Right. But
letting go of the result. Of
oh,
course, I'd want to have every painting gone and be able to give her a
and
sizable check, but it'll be what it'll be. You can only, put it out there and,
and,
let the rest happen.
and Jan, thank you. That's very nice that you're doing that, Jan, and very nice and kind. And we got to follow your lead in your gesture. We should all be doing
Thank you.
this. I
Yeah,
think as all of us now that November is here, Thanksgiving's around the block, and we should all be thankful and wonderful. And listen,
absolutely.
I'm always grateful and thankful for you for doing my logos. And
One,
I
yes,
will always you'll always be right here in my heart,
I,
and I will never forget you. You've been a friend for a long time, and I just want to say thank you for all the years for supporting me, and you've been a great friend, and
and
and we
vice
continue.
versa, Juan. I mean, yeah, I remember the day that I contacted you because I needed help with something, and you're like, Jan, I can't believe you contacted me. I was going to reach out to you. I need a logo, and I'm like, I'm your lady. I'm your
Yeah,
gal.
yeah, I took it. So people don't know. I had to take Jan out of retirement. Out of retirement. You could come out. Just do it for me. One more.
Worked
And
with Robin, who was
what
amazing,
amazing. Yeah, yep.
amazing.
We
Working with
created
her was
Robin Chaskin. Yep.
she was just um, a joy. I would not have retired if I could work with people like her because she
Excellent.
made it the interaction and the back and forth and the giving and taking and absorbing and the camaraderie and it was just it
I
was meant to
know.
be.
It was meant to be, and
It
it
was
was
meant to
truly
be.
amazing. But I know that in the past we worked together, we networked together, we
Yes.
used to go to
Yes.
meet in business meetings and everything. So you and I,
Yeah.
we were in the trenches together back in the
We were.
days, back in the
We
day,
we
and
were. And yeah, thank you for being my very first podcast. This is
uh,
amazing.
no, one of the shout out because we got to shout out people too that connected us was Steve Wilson, if you recall.
Steve Wilson,
So was the one
who's
that
still
connected
very
us.
much in my life.
Yeah.
He's I just had lunch with him just a few weeks ago.
Oh, excellent, excellent. Yeah,
Steve Wilson.
he was on my show, by the way.
Ah,
So you could
as he should be, as he should be.
you can watch my podcast. So definitely, but
Yeah.
Jan, thank you so much. It's been
Ah,
wonderful, and thank you so
great.
much for your first podcast. So you'll be memorable. You
I
won't
know
forget.
it.
You won't
I'm like,
forget.
I'll never forget.
You'll
Yep,
your first podcast. So thank you so
this
much
is
for
wonderful.
yeah.
Thank you for everything,
Thank
Juan.
you
You
for
really
coming. No problem. And if you want,
wonderful.
thank you. And if you want to be a guest on Winning on Wednesday, just simply go to our website, winningonwednesday.com, and sign up as a first time guest. And we'll see you next week. Thank you again, Jen.
All
And
right.
bye
Thank
bye.
you.